realizing love isn't enough to keep someone, is one of the hardest truths you can ever accept. Because when you really love someone, you naturally believe love should be enough. You think, if I love them enough, they'll stay. If I treat them right, they'll choose me. If I give them everything I have, they'll never leave. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes, you can love someone deeply, and still lose them. And that realization can completely change the way you understand love. Because here's the question nobody wants to ask. What if loving someone doesn't mean you're meant to keep them? We grow up believing that love is the solution to everything. Movies teach us that the person who loves harder eventually wins. Songs tell us to fight for the one we love. Stories tell us that after all the problems, the two people finally end up together. But real life isn't always a movie. Sometimes there is love, and there is still separation. Sometimes two people care about each other, but they can't give each other what they need. Sometimes the feelings are real, but the relationship still isn't healthy. And sometimes, one person simply stops choosing the relationship. That's painful, because you start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Was I not good enough? Did I not love them enough? And you start looking for something you could have done differently. Maybe if you had called more. Maybe if you had been more patient. Maybe if you had given them more attention. Maybe if you had changed yourself. But sometimes, the answer isn't that you didn't love enough. Sometimes, love simply isn't the missing piece. Because a relationship needs more than love. It needs communication. It needs trust. It needs respect. It needs effort. It needs compatibility. It needs two people who are willing to choose each other. Especially when things aren't easy. Because loving someone and being able to build a life with them are two different things. You can love someone's heart and still realize your lives are moving in different directions. You can care about someone and still know that being together is hurting both of you. You can miss someone and still know you shouldn't go back. That's one of the hardest lessons. Missing someone doesn't automatically mean you belong together. Your heart can want something that your life cannot sustain. And honestly, the heart can be a little dramatic. You can know someone isn't good for you, and then one song comes on at 11:47 p.m., and suddenly you're ready to write a 5-page apology. You start remembering the good moments, the late-night conversations, the jokes, the way they looked at you, the memories, and your brain conveniently forgets why everything fell apart in the first place. That's why healing isn't always about stopping yourself from loving someone. Sometimes it's about learning to love them without needing them to stay. Because there is a difference between love and attachment. Love says, I want the best for you. Attachment says, I need you to stay so I can be okay. Love can let go. Attachment keeps negotiating. Love respects someone's choice. Attachment tries to change their mind. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is accept a decision you desperately wish were different. That doesn't mean it won't hurt. It will. You may have days when you miss them so badly. You question whether letting go was the right thing. You may look at old messages, old pictures, old memories, and wonder, how can something that felt so real be over? But something being over doesn't mean it wasn't real. Some people enter your life and genuinely love you, but they aren't meant to stay forever. Some relationships are chapters, not the entire book. And that's difficult to accept because we don't just lose a person. We lose the future we imagined with them. The plans, the conversations, the version of ourselves we thought we'd become beside them. That's what makes letting go so painful. You're not only saying goodbye to what happened, you're saying goodbye to what you thought would happen. And sometimes, that's the real grief. You imagined growing old together. You imagined the house, the family, the trips, the ordinary mornings. You imagined everything. And suddenly, you're standing there with memories instead of plans. But here's something you need to understand. A relationship ending doesn't mean your future ended with it. Your life continues. You continue. And the person you become after losing someone can be stronger, wiser, and more honest with themselves. Maybe the relationship taught you what you need. Maybe it taught you what you won't accept again. Maybe it showed you how deeply you are capable of loving. Maybe it taught you that you cannot abandon yourself just to keep someone else. Because that's another painful truth. You should never have to destroy yourself to keep someone. You shouldn't have to constantly prove your worth. You shouldn't have to beg for basic effort. You shouldn't have to become someone you're not, just to convince another person to stay. The right relationship isn't one where you constantly ask, how do I make them love me? It's one where both people are asking, how do we take care of what we have? Because love is not just a feeling. It's a decision. It's showing up. It's listening. It's compromising. It's being honest. It's choosing each other when the excitement fades and real life begins. And if only one person is making that choice, Eventually, love becomes exhaustion. So if you're currently holding on to someone because you're afraid of what happens when you let go, ask yourself something. Are you holding on to the person? Or are you holding on to the possibility of who they could become? Because sometimes, we don't love the relationship we actually have. We love the relationship we hope it will become. And those are two very different things. You can't build a relationship with potential. You can only build one with reality. So look at reality. Not the memories. Not the promises. Not the version of them you keep hoping will return. Look at what is happening now. Are they choosing you? Are they communicating? Are they making an effort? Do you feel respected? Do you feel safe being yourself? It means you finally learned how to love, without losing yourself.